Why is Thorchain Rune currently outperforming that much? Why is it going up 15% almost in the last 24 hours? I personally think it has to do with current momentum. I think the current relative valuation of Thorchain Rune to the rest of the altcoin market is very interesting. That's probably why it's going up so much. And so in this video, we're going to not just look at the US dollar chart, right? The thing that everybody looks at. This is not really a clear picture of what Thorchain Rune is currently doing. What's better is to look at relative valuations to Bitcoin, to Ethereum, but also to total 3. So to the cryptocurrency market cap minus Bitcoin and minus Ethereum. So in order to look at how is Thorchain Rune doing in the overall altcoin landscape. So first things first, Thorchain Rune is at market rank 53. So it's the 53rd largest cryptocurrency in terms of market cap. So we're looking at 1.7 billion. Now, this is a chart you probably have seen before, right? So this is just Thorchain Rune in US dollars on a logarithmic scale, right? So at the top here of the scale, we are looking at US dollar amounts. Here at the bottom, we rather look at cents. When you don't have a logarithmic scale, this is what you're looking at, right? So you can barely see what happened in the early days. You really have to look at a lot of crypto charts logarithmically. And so simply in US dollars, Thorchain Rune was doing very, very well, right? That's more than a 400x in approximately 2 years. But the actual question is, what is Thorchain Rune doing versus other altcoins, right? So first of all, this is Rune versus Bitcoin. And the chart in the end doesn't look that different to the US dollar chart, simply because the volatility of Thorchain Rune is that significant, right? Bitcoin also has its volatility, but since it's already so large, it goes up less when the overall momentum is positive, and it goes down less when the overall momentum is negative. And so we've got an amplification, we've got an inherent leverage effect when buying something that's on market rank 53 rather than on market rank 1, right? So it takes less money to move the price in percentage terms. And so the differences of Rune to Bitcoin versus the Rune to US dollar chart isn't that significant. Rune to Ethereum does look quite different though, right? We seem to be in this sideways trading range versus Ethereum for a longer period, since June of 2020 actually. When we look at the US dollar chart, this doesn't look like this, right? There we think the sideways trading range maybe started in February of 2021. But really, we have to look at this, relatively speaking, right? We have to look at this versus Ethereum. That's in the end the crypto capital that you might be deploying, right? You might be allocating. You've got your crypto portfolio and then allocate to different kinds of positions. And so you need to expect Thorchain Rune to outperform. Now here's a chart you've probably never seen before. And that's Rune's market cap divided by something called total 3. So that's this chart over here. Rune versus total 3. Now what is total 3? Total 3 is cryptocurrency's market cap minus Bitcoin's market cap minus Ethereum's market cap. So everything you might be calling altcoins, so cryptocurrencies that are not Bitcoin or Ethereum, go into total 3. We're looking at the market cap. And now we're comparing Thorchain Rune's market cap to all those other cryptocurrencies. And so where does the sideways trading range start here? It's in January 2021. And so there's two ways to draw this, right? One might simply argue this is simply going sideways and we have a potential risk versus the rest of the altcoin market of 30% versus a potential return of 140%, right? So that's one argument. The other argument is that we're actually breaking out of this sideways trading range, right? That's less clear of a trend, but one might still make that argument with 1, 2, 3, and then potentially 5 confirmations over here, and we might be just breaking out of this. And so that's why I think Thorchain Rune is outperforming that well. This support over here was pretty stable, and it looks like the price of Thorchain Rune versus the rest of the cryptocurrency market, it tends to move in this step function, right? We tend to see these kinds of sideways consolidation movements several times. We see it over here. One might also argue that we saw it over here. Now we see it again on a bigger scale. And so once we break out of this, the upside here is really, really interesting. Now, there are a few interesting points when we look at Bitcoin versus the altcoins, right? Because this can help us determine where we currently are, if we are currently undervalued or overvalued in general in the altcoin market. So let's look at total 3 divided by the Bitcoin market cap. So that's this chart over here. How important are the altcoins? How expensive are they? And this here is a very long-term chart starting in July of 2017. And some of those points here are very, very noteworthy. For example, this all-time high over here, it happened in January 2018. Now, what else happened in January 2018? It was the peak of the last bull market. Look at this. This was Bitcoin's price around 20K. Afterwards, we had our very, very significant bear market of more than 80% in Bitcoin. So the tolerance for risk taking was pretty high. That's how you can interpret this, right? A lot of money is in altcoins versus Bitcoin. Not a lot of people try to just hedge their portfolio or try to make the safe bet. Most people want to outperform. They're willing to take on more risk, and that's expressed by the altcoins being comparatively heavy weighted for all of crypto. And so then people become more and more risk averse. Bitcoin continues to appreciate versus the altcoins, with then a final turnaround in January of 2021. That's when the altcoin rally really started. That's when a lot of the growth for Bitcoin has stopped, right? This is January 2021. Since then, we're pretty much going sideways in Bitcoin. Now it really takes a lot of money to help Bitcoin double again. So people just look for the next potential rally, right? People simply look for what can outperform Bitcoin, which was basically everything since beginning of last year. But there seems to be some kind of a range here, right? It's not exact science. We do undershoot, we do overshoot, but it is a range. And when we are very high on this range, risk taking is high. The potential downside might be high as well. Of course, the altcoin market nowadays looks pretty different to 2018, right? During this time here, there was a really large ICO boom. People just simply copied Bitcoin. There was Bitcoin Diamond, there was Bitcoin Classic, there was Ethereum Classic. There was all kinds of interesting forks happening here, but there wasn't really a lot of new technology developing. DeFi wasn't as developed. There were no NFTs. And so one might argue that it is potentially justified that nowadays altcoins are a larger share of all of crypto, that Bitcoin shouldn't be that dominating compared to the past. But still, we can see there is an upper ceiling, right? This is a potential outperformance of maybe 20% of the altcoin market versus Bitcoin. And that's not too massive, given that if there is a crypto winter at some point in time, that the downside is really not that funny, right? 70% in the worst case. I'm not saying this is going to happen. It's simply important to monitor this. It's simply important to know where we currently are, relatively speaking. There is another chart though that tells quite a different story when we look at total 3, and that's total 3 divided by the stablecoin market caps. That's this chart over here. So this is the altcoin market cap divided by the market cap of Tether, UST, DAI, and USDC. So how large are the altcoins relative to the stablecoins? And this here tells the exact opposite story. This says that simply a lot of money is currently in stablecoins relative to altcoins, right? Total 3 is relatively low compared to the stablecoins. And what does that mean? It simply means the stablecoin market now is way more developed than it used to be. DeFi is a big thing. Terra Luna, with its anchor protocol that pays out 20%, is very, very large. A lot of other competitors on competing layer ones, they've got similar offerings. And so one might simply argue, maybe we don't need all of this price volatility, right? When we can already get so much money on stablecoins, why take on that much risk? And so this is how we have to see this. I find it very interesting when looking at these extreme points over here, how they coincide with price peaks in Ethereum or in altcoins in general. For example, when you look here at this bottom, right, where total 3 was comparatively low compared to the altcoins, a lot of money was in the altcoins. This here happened on the 19th of July last year. Let's look at Ethereum on the 19th of July last year. That was over here, a bottom in the market. So that's very interesting, right? That would then in turn indicate that given that we are again at a very, very low level over here, that there could be potentially some money that might move again into riskier plays such as Thorchain Rune, right? Which would then potentially accelerate Rune to an outperformance of 280% versus Ethereum, or as we've already established, 140% in the overall altcoin market. So what does this all tell us? In the very grand scheme of things, right? Like in the macro cycle point of view, we are currently relatively expensive with altcoins. That being said, when we zoom in a little, when we just look at the short term, then relative to stable coins, we are not very expensive. So in other words, short to medium term looks bullish. Long term is dangerous. So if you consider making a bet, then definitely set a stop loss as well. Because if you do want to profit from this, right, we are in this sideways trading range where we are relatively low. If you do want to profit from a potential rally here, make sure not to lose it all in case general crypto momentum turns bearish again. It's very much possible. Nobody can predict the future, but simply make sure that you've got a strategy and that you're hedged accordingly, no matter what happens. You want to stay flexible and you want to take profits when you're picking the outperformer. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe because I publish videos regularly. And in case you've got any questions, feel free to comment this down below. I try to answer to every single comment. You might also consider joining our Telegram groups. They are over here. Simply search for Bitcoin Strategy channel within the Telegram app. See you next time. Bye-bye.